Both of us, who are both 29 years old, have been married for 6 years. I have my own business, and she has been a dedicated teacher ever since we got together. We both come from great families, but our parents tend to hide problems in their own marriages. Together, we have a 2-year-old son, and we both work equally long hours every day of the week. When it comes to household chores like cooking, cleaning, and laundry, I handle almost all of it, and she agrees with that arrangement. We both share the responsibility of taking care of our son. However, she has been struggling to connect with him in a motherly way, as if there's a missing bond between them. I think it may be because she works too much, but I've always been supportive of her career, which she is passionate about. In February, we received the exciting news that we were pregnant. We were absolutely thrilled. We have always wanted to have 2 children with a 2-year age difference, and to make it even better, she's expecting a girl. Let's jump to the end of March 2023. A colleague of my wife, who is also a good friend of ours, shared a ridiculous rumor with us. According to this rumor, a high school girl claimed that my wife's baby belonged to the girl's dad. We found it so absurd that we simply laughed it off. Interestingly, the dad and his wife who were involved in this rumor are actually close friends of ours. He happens to be a member of the school board. They are around the same age as my parents and grew up together in a very small town. It's worth noting that my wife and he had frequent conversations and text exchanges, mostly regarding his daughter's projects that my wife supervised. This is quite common in her line of work, especially since she deals with animals. A week later, my wife and I went out for dinner with the dad and his wife. The joke about the rumor came up again, but this time, I sensed something strange. I didn't laugh it off like I normally would, and the conversation quickly shifted to something else. It didn't consume my thoughts, but it lingered in the back of my mind throughout the rest of the evening. Later that night, around 2 a.m., for the first time ever, I decided to look through my wife's phone. To my shock, I discovered text messages and evidence of their emotional affair. They were saying, "I love you" to each other, and I found bits of deleted conversations where they discussed her leaving me. There were even some explicit photos she had sent him. These messages and images dated back 6 months. Despite my intense emotions, I managed to remain calm and took screenshots as evidence, which I then sent to myself via text. When my wife woke up, I confronted her about what I had found, and she immediately started crying and apologizing. She assured me that our baby was definitely mine, and she claimed they only had closeness once after she got pregnant. Ha ha, yeah, right. This guy, who is 57 years old, is pretty unattractive and overweight, but he has a seemingly perfect family. It disgusted me to think about it. She insists that he pursued her, and she never wanted anything physical to happen. Ha, yeah, right again. According to her, we had grown distant, and she felt like my work was more important to me than she was. I could say the same about myself, maybe even more so. I had taken on the role of the homemaker, making sacrifices with my work and time to be at home more with our son and take care of the household. During those 6 months when she was cheating, I took her on 3 trips abroad. I was honest with her and expressed the need for us to spend more time together. However, she would often spend unreasonably long hours away from home. Now let's jump to the present. My parents are aware of the situation, and they believe we should try to work things out for the sake of our kids. Living in a small town, we tend to hide anything negative or imperfect. That's just how it is in the conservative and religious atmosphere of the Bible Belt. We're expected to put on a good front and maintain the appearance of a perfect family that doesn't divorce. To her credit, she has been doing everything she can to fix our relationship. She quit her job and completely cut ties with the other person. She hasn't made any excuses or placed the blame solely on me. She genuinely wants us to work things out and is deeply upset at the thought of me leaving. She claims that all she really wanted was my attention throughout this whole ordeal. Here's the situation. She gets to have me, her reliable and problem-solving rock. We'll maintain the facade of a perfect marriage and family to the outside world. Her family and friends are completely unaware of what's happened. Meanwhile, she gets to keep the excitement of her secret affair, the full extent of which only she knows. She doesn't display motherly behavior towards our son. Our bed life is terrible. I'm constantly have a high desire and always making an effort, but she's just unenthusiastic about it. It's only in the bedroom on certain nights, and there's never anything new or exciting. She isn't loyal to our relationship. Whatever money she made, she spent it on clothes, while I took care of the bills and savings. I've worked hard to establish a successful business, but right now I've lost my drive and passion for it. Dealing with the stress of both my work and her behavior has become overwhelming, and I have no one to talk to about it. I find myself wanting a divorce. I envision selling my business, liquidating my assets and properties. I contemplate starting my life anew, 1,500 miles away, and even considered joining the Air Force. However, I know that this drastic decision isn't necessarily the solution either. Update. So here's what happened. I talked to a lawyer a good friend of mine recommended. I told him the whole messy story. He listened and then suggested I should get a divorce. He told me, if your name's on the birth certificate, you're on the hook for child support, even if the kid isn't yours. And same thing if you're married when the baby's born. Those words stuck with me. I walked into the house. She was there, sitting on the couch. I handed her the papers, told her I wanted a divorce. She looked at the papers, her eyes wide and scared, her lips shaking. She fell to her knees, crying like crazy. But her pain was music to my ears. I enjoyed watching her hysterical, and I told her, I won't raise a kid that isn't mine. I had a great lawyer who walked me through everything. I kept my house and my business, and with the evidence I had, I didn't owe her anything. The court even gave me full custody of our son. She was devastated. Suddenly she was a single mom, with a kid nobody else wanted. The guy she had an affair with chickened out, saying he has his own family. He, like her, was just looking for a good time, and when things got real, he split. I felt relieved once the divorce was done, like a huge weight was lifted off me. I started to focus on my son and my business, trying to get my life back to normal, and I can't lie, there was some satisfaction in seeing her deal with the fallout. Today, I've rebuilt my life from the ground up. My business is doing great again, and I found my drive and passion. My son and I are closer than ever, and I'm thankful for the life we have. She, though, she's dealing with the choices she made, raising a kid all on her own. Months went by, and I started hearing things about my ex-wife from friends we both knew. It looked like she was having a tough time dealing with all the new stuff she had to handle on her own. She wasn't just a single mom now. She was also struggling with money and bills. One night, a good friend told me she was having trouble paying her health insurance. I couldn't help but smile a bit. In a strange way, it seemed like she was getting what she deserved. If you're going through something like this, remember it gets better. You have to stay strong and trust in the process. Get help if you need it, but don't let anyone walk all over you. I learned the hard way, but now I'm happier and more content than ever. Remember, we all deserve to be happy and at peace. If a relationship brings out the worst in you, it's better to leave and start fresh. Second story. Hey everyone, I'm not really sure where to start with this post. I'm a 21-year-old guy, and I grew up in what I thought was a happy and loving family. There were no signs of trouble or unhappiness. However, in August 2020, my dad, 54 years old, caught my mom, 50 years old, having an affair with her high school boyfriend. Just 2 weeks later, my dad made the decision to get a divorce. On August 18th, while driving my little sister to her first year of college, my parents broke the news to her about the divorce. I found out a few hours later when I was at home. It was a very sudden and shocking revelation. 2 days later, I left for my second year of college. The whole experience was incredibly traumatic because I had only a few days to process everything. Before leaving the home I had grown up in for 17 years, never to return again. By the end of September, they had sold the house, and it's unlikely that I'll ever go back. Since August 19th, 2020, my sister hasn't spoken to my mom. In the months following the divorce, my dad decided to move to the same town where I attend college, and I moved in with him. Some people might find this arrangement unusual, but my dad and I have always had a strong bond. So it made sense for both of us. I'm really grateful that things turned out this way. Nowadays, my dad has made an incredible recovery and appears to be content with his life. Our relationship has grown even stronger, and I have no doubt that it will continue to be that way. We spend time skiing or biking together a few times a week. On the other hand, I've been facing significant challenge in trying to mend my relationship with my mother. It has been a tough journey for me. In the beginning, I would call my mom, but our conversations were mostly focused on the affair. I would end up yelling and asking her tough questions about why she destroyed our lives, and in particular, what did you expect to happen? However, my mom is generally quiet and reserved, and she tends to portray herself as the victim in any confrontation. This has been extremely stressful for me, both at that time and even now. Whenever I tried to find closure or have an honest conversation with her, she had a habit of dismissing it by saying, "It doesn't matter. It's already in the past." I bring up this point to highlight just how shocked and caught off guard we were by this whole situation. Despite everything that happened, I still make regular calls to my mom, usually once or twice a week. We mostly engage in casual conversations, avoiding the discussion of the painful events we went through. During this period, I was also receiving therapy at my school, and it helped me gain a better understanding of myself. I discovered that I'm on the autism spectrum. Through therapy, I also learned mindfulness techniques that helped me let go of the need to constantly seek answers for why my mother did what she did. Surprisingly, these insights actually improved my relationship with her in some ways. At the very least, my own mental well-being and ability to cope with my trauma and my ASD improved greatly. I stopped going to therapy when I graduated in June 2021. Then, in May 2021, my mom called me to break the news that she had decided to give away my 2 childhood dogs to a family we had never even met before. Naturally, this was a devastating blow to my already strained relationship with my mom. Technically, I could have taken them and brought them with me here to Colorado, where I currently live, but it would have had a significant impact on the lifestyle I've been working hard to build. I still strongly believe that since my mom was the one who disrupted the dog's home in the first place, she should be responsible for taking care of them. She would never admit it, but the real reason she gave them away was that she had moved to a fancy apartment in a posh part of the city and didn't want to relocate to a place with a backyard, even though she could afford it. Naturally, the apartment environment was very stressful for our dogs because they require a lot of attention and were used to having direct access to a backyard their whole lives. Last summer, I visited them at their new home once, and it was incredibly distressing for me. Although I was happy to see them, it was heartbreaking to witness them being displaced from where I believe they truly belong. I'm sharing this now because even though my relationship with my mom has slightly gotten better over the past year and a half, I still feel like I haven't fully dealt with the trauma I experienced. It seems like my mom is okay with avoiding the tough conversations we need to have in order to truly heal our relationship. Whenever I try to discuss uncomfortable truths or ask her difficult questions, she always portrays herself as the victim of some unfair situation. She also tries to manipulate my perception of what happened, downplaying her own responsibility and dismissing the validity of my feelings towards her. I still have love for my mom, and I want to rebuild a healthy relationship with her. However, she doesn't seem to understand that I can't just push aside all these emotions and pretend to trust and respect her again. She destroyed everything that mattered the most to me. And when everything was already broken beyond repair, she even took away the one thing that remained pure and untouched by the affair, my childhood pets, and ruined that as well. I feel an overwhelming sense of grief for the loss of my family, the mother I once knew, our dogs, our home, my old life, and so much more. I often have nightmares where I'm betrayed by the people I love. I constantly find myself dwelling on why she did this to us, exhausting myself in trying to understand because I struggle to accept that she's a bad person. I'll be honest and say something I'm not proud of. I often find myself struggling with feelings of hatred towards women. It's a fear of mine that due to the family trauma and my Asperger's, I won't be able to have a healthy romantic relationship or start a family of my own. In short, even though I've gone through therapy and have been consistently communicating with my mom, I still don't feel like I've fully healed from all of this. The openness and trust that I desperately need from my mother seem impossible to attain. I constantly question if it's truly worth it to maintain a relationship with her. What do you all think? Is it reasonable for me to feel so angry and conflicted? If you were in my shoes, would you have ever given your mother a chance? How would you go about building a new, healthy relationship with your parent? I genuinely love her and want to find a way to be close again, but sometimes I wonder if that's just wishful thinking. I'd really appreciate any feedback or insights you might have. Third story. My wife and I have been married for almost a decade. We're both in our mid-30s. A few years back, she made the decision to pursue a master's degree by going back to college. We both agreed it was a good idea. Our married life was wonderful, and we were both really happy. It was the best time of my life. However, things started to change when she started her studies. Life got busier for her, with all the coursework. After a few months, I noticed a shift in her behavior. She would stay out later than usual, studying at the university library or meeting up with classmates for group projects. Every now and then, she would conveniently have to go back to the office, late at night, because she forgot something. It raised some suspicions in me, but I had no concrete evidence. She always had reasonable explanations for everything. I even tried checking things and looking for any inconsistencies, but there was nothing. It all seemed normal, and I thought I was just being overly suspicious. One Saturday morning, while checking my emails on our shared computer, which she sometimes used for her homework, I noticed she had forgotten to log out of her account from the previous night. Before logging her out, I saw a bunch of emails from someone I didn't recognize. Curiosity got the better of me, so I decided to check her Facebook and Instagram accounts to see if she was friends with this person. Nope, no sign of him. That's when I resorted to Googling his name, and it turned out he was her college professor. He was a man in his 50s, married, and had 3 teenage kids. Everything seemed fine with his family life, and I didn't think much of it. The emails exchanged between them appeared innocent. I remembered my own college days when I frequently communicated with professors through email. After that incident, I didn't notice anything suspicious and dismissed my earlier concerns. Once again, I believed my worries were unfounded. As time passed, life became more manageable. My wife had settled into her studies, and the stress and busyness decreased. We had more quality time together, and we even started constructing our own house. Life seemed to be smoothly sailing without any major issues. However, little did I know that a nightmare was about to unfold. One Thursday, I decided to surprise my wife by coming home early because I wanted to take her out for dinner at a new restaurant. While driving down our street, I saw a car leaving our driveway. It caught my attention, and as we passed each other, I instantly recognized the guy behind the wheel. It was her former college professor. Filled with curiosity and concern, I hurried inside the house and found my wife in the kitchen, wearing only a towel. She appeared shocked and struggled to find her words when she saw me. In that moment, I couldn't help but ask why her professor had just left our house and why she was dressed like that. She tried to brush it off, claiming that I was overreacting and that nothing had happened. So, I headed straight to our bedroom while she tried to intervene and stop me. Once I entered the room, it was painfully obvious what had transpired. Determined to get the truth, I made it clear that if she didn't come clean, I would reach out to his wife and inform her about everything. Finally, she couldn't hold it back any longer and broke down, confessing everything. They had been involved in an on-and-off affair for 3 years. According to her, it all started after she finished his class that semester. However, she claims that she was brainwashed by him and never truly desired the relationship. She emphasized his position of authority, even though he was no longer her professor, and insisted that she had been manipulated into a physical involvement that lasted for 3 years. It's been a whole week since I found out about everything. The very next morning, while my wife was at her parents' place, I moved my belongings out and got in touch with a divorce lawyer. It's like I'm going through the motions, feeling completely detached from reality. My wife hasn't stopped reaching out to me, texting, calling, and emailing, begging for forgiveness and another chance. Even her family has been trying to contact me, attempting to convince me to give her another shot. But today, I finally took the step to block her and her family on all communication channels. Thankfully, I have an amazing support system with people who have been incredibly helpful. Next week, I plan on scheduling an appointment with a therapist to start the healing process. I understand that it will take time to recover, and deep down, I know I deserve better.